Alright, here we're going to do a little practical, and I'm going to show you how you can make a design and model a simple architectural building. Now, first of all, to get started, let's try expanding this. Okay, to get started, you have to set up your levels, and to set up levels, you will come to your elevations. You have east, north, south, and west elevations, so you can click on any of them. Now, by default, we have two levels here, level 1 and level 2. Alright, and level 1 is actually the floor datum, while level 2 is the top datum. So we're going to set up some other levels depending on what we have in mind. And in this case, we just have in mind to create a bungalow building. So we'll be needing a level that has to do with the roof as well. And moreover, we are going to adjust the height of this level. I don't like it to be 4,000. I want to change it to 3,500 millimeters high. So I'm just going to click on this. So always take note, once you click on any level, the dimension appears automatically. So here you just click on the dimension and change it to 3,500. And you click anywhere in the space, it turns to 3,500. But first of all, take note of what I did. I did not select level 1, I selected the level 2. So at the end of the of my modification, you will notice the one selected is the one that came down. So if I had selected this, it would have been this that will move up. Alright, so I just have to say escape. Then the next thing is to go and pick my levels. Here is my levels on the ribbon here. I'll just select it, and then if you look at the option bar, you're going to see offset. So you just impute the value offset, 4,500 millimeters, and then you come here, you have lines, which of course you can draw it from the point of 4,500, or you can just pick a line. Alright, once you pick line, you will just come here and offset it. The offset will just go at 4,500 millimeters. Alright, and then this place is locked just like we have other ones. I'm also going to offset another level of 600 millimeter downward, which will represent the foundation. So here I just enter 600 millimeters. Alright, then I come down here and offset 600 millimeters. As you can see here, I have it as minus 600. Then you hit escape. Now you also have to take note of your project browser. So here I have level 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright, you're going to see them appear there, level 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's the essence of the project browser. But I'm going to modify the name. Alright, here at level 4, I like to call it my foundation. So all you have to do is to double click on it and type foundation. You're gonna ask you, would you like to rename corresponding view? Yes. So I've turned that into foundation. Then level 1, I can leave it at level 1, or you can also name it DPC depending on your choice. And then you have your level 3. Here I like to call it roof. You double click on it and type roof, and you just click anywhere and say yes. Now at this point we are good to go. Then you just hit escape by going to the appropriate level where we can start our modeling, and that is level 1. So we just have to go here and double click on level 1. Now here we are. So to get started in modeling, the first thing you have to do is to pick a wall. Now here you come to your wall and you pick architectural wall. Now looking at the property dialog box, you see the generic wall 200 millimeters, but we have to modify it. And so by clicking on edit type, okay, here we have it as 200 millimeters thick. So you say you have to duplicate the wall and change the name. I call this wall 1. Say okay, and then I can now change the thickness. I like it to be 150 millimeters thick. Alright, so let's leave every other thing and then say OK. Say OK. The next thing you have to set up here is to consider your wall location line. So here we have it as wall center line. We have several options. So while we keep working, you're going to see the differences, all right, and the use for them all. So let's leave it as the wall center line. And then base constraint is level 1, which is where we are making our design. We have the base offset, and let's leave it as 0 because we are not offsetting it from any point of origin. Then top constraint, we have the unconnected as 8000. I want the top constraint to stop at level 2. So the wall is going to run from level 1 to level 2, which is 3500 millimeters. And here is a vertical wall. So for now, we are not setting up any other thing, and we are good to go. So we start by making a drawing. So this is our wall here. We've drawn the first wall. You take the second one here, escape, take this. Now also note that in cases where you have different types of wall, we have 225 thickness of wall, we have 150 thickness of wall. You can be toggling and switching between walls depending on which you want. In that case, if you want to draw a wall here, this for example, we have 150 millimeters. In case you want to draw another one of 150 millimeters, you can just select the wall and right click. When you right click, you see create similar. Select it, it means the next wall you're drawing is the same properties with this. Alright, so if you have that of 225 millimeters thick, all you have to do is select that of 225 millimeters thick after you have edited and duplicated the wall and given it a different thickness. All you just have to do is select it. After making the first drawing, you can select and then you create similar type of wall. In that way, you can just be moving fast in your modeling. So I like the gap between the first wall and the second wall to be like 3900 millimeters. Sorry, all I have to do now is to go to my quick access toolbar and pick my dimension. I don't like the location to be center line, otherwise it will be picking from the center line to center line. So I have to change it to wall face. And once I select the wall face, it's now going to be in to in. So you can see that the dimension is far enough. So if I want to bring it close, I select one end and then I change 3900. I can delete this by selecting it and pressing delete. And then again, I select this, I create similar wall, 3800, 2500, and then I create another at the distance of 1200. I can just say delete, and I delete this. I drag this to this point, and I drag this to this point. And so I have this, but I can also make another, create similar. I can also come to this point I have here as 1.2. And of course, you know you have what you're doing in mind. This is 800 millimeter gap. Then let me make use of my dimension and see what the dimension is. This is 800. You can select this and turn it to 600. My wall again, I create similar wall from this point. I demarcate it just like that. So I pick dimension and check between here and here. 2175. I can make it 2400. Say OK. At this point I can choose, this is modify. I can split the wall at any point here. and then I can drag this to separate it and drag this to return to this point. Now I have this gap here. I can decide to separate it the more for entrance, and then this I can drag it to this point and select this and drag to this point. I'm just trying to make a simple self-contained model, and I can select any of the walls and create similar by dragging this to this point. And then I can also confirm the dimension, then delete this. Then I can now pick a line by going back to my architectural, and then I pick a line, select the line, and then I draw a line like this. So this is gonna be my wardrobe. Alright, let me extend the wall more. So between this point and this point I have it as 1003, so I can leave it at 1200 millimeters. Then this, between this to this point is 525. Let's leave it at 600 because it's gonna be my wardrobe. Pick a line and draw just like that. Just like that. You hit escape, and you can turn the line into broken lines as well, or I can choose to leave it like that. To turn it to a broken line, you can just come to this point after selecting it and drop this down. You're going to see hidden, so let's turn it to a hidden line, and then you can pick match properties at this point and match this to this. Then I return to architectural, pick another line. So let's also create similar line again. 0.1, let's make 1.2 millimeters, and then I drag this to this point, drag this to that point. At this point I'm going to turn this, pick a line, and I make a line just like that. I make another line just like that, and I hit escape, and I press this wall. I select this wall and delete it, so I have my lines there. I have this as well. So these lines represent the entrance. If we move to 3D just to see what we have done, once you select your 3D, you're gonna see it there. Alright, so you can see the levels that we set up, and so you can see, or you can use your shift and middle mouse button to rotate just to see what we have there. Alright, you can see through this place, you can see like that. You can just take a look at what we've done. So over here we're going to put a beam across this place, and then behind here too is going to be an opening just like this. So let's work on that. Let's go back to level 1. So I drag this point to that point, and I pick my line. And make a line just like that. Escape, and I select this and extend it to that point. Sorry, I pick this. I use copy to this point. Alright, and let's put a beam across this point and a beam across this point. Now in this case I'm just going to use my architectural wall to create a beam, so there will be no need for structural beam components. Alright, like all of these structural walls, there will be no need for that. So I'm just going to use my wall to make my own kind of beam. So this is architectural. I pick the wall, I save. Then saving this, you can name the project file now. So let me say example 102, save. So I will have to edit the wall. I duplicate it. I can call it beams. Okay, and the thickness is 150, which is right. And then I say okay. Then you come down to this point. Your base constraint is level 1, base offset is 0.0. Then at this point you have to pay attention to this point here. We turn it to unconnected, and the height between the level 1 and level 2 is 3,500. all right. Apart from the thickness, I just want the height of that beam to be 600 millimeters. So under unconnected, you say 600. Then 3005 minus 600 will give you 2009. So under base constraint, you put in 2900. So now at this point, we have nothing to guide us that the wall has to run between these lines. So there is nothing guiding us here. All right, even this cannot guide us. So let's use the line location and turn it to finish face exterior. All right, so that when I place my distance here, I will know that the exterior part is the finish face. Then I make the wall like that, and then I can also use this as finish face exterior. But I'm sure I see that there's a displacement there, and let's go to 3D and confirm what we have done. Just that the lines got displaced, but we're going to correct it. We'll go back to level 1, or you can delete this. Pick another line. $150 millimeters. All right, that solves the problem. So if you go to 3D, you will see it there. So the next thing I'd like us to do right here is to put a foundation under this. Let's go to our level 1 again. And now for foundation, we have to go back to architectural, and instead of wall or any other thing, we'll pick floor architectural. Then we can edit type and duplicate it. So let's call it foundation floor. Now you have to take note, the reason why you have to name it like this, because if you are working on a complex structure, you're going to be dealing with a whole lot of floors. For example, if it were to be duplex or a high-rise building, each and every one of those floors are going to have their own floors, and the thicknesses will be quite different. So you have to specify which and which and which you are working on. All right, so I have to say okay. And then the thickness, you can edit it to 600 millimeters. All right, so you say okay. So thickness 600. Then here you can either pick your rectangle or your lines. Now we don't need rectangle because we have a recess at this point. So let's just choose line, and you come and make your line from this point to this point. Now also take note of this, that in any sketching you're making, you have to note that Revit will always allow or encourage a closed loop. If there is no closed loop, if there is a gap at any point, you can't be able to finish it. Now at the end of your sketches, you have to hit finish at this point, finish edit mode. Once you click that, you will see it appear there. So we can go back to 3D and see we now have this. You can turn it into any of the visual style by clicking on this. These are the visual style. So if I click on it, you can put it in realistic mode. So realistic mode will bring out a different graphic for you. So let's continue. We'll go back to our level 1. Now let's make a sketch of the parapet, and then we'll bring it up and apply it here on the project. The first thing to do when you're making a sketch of a parapet or any family at all is to open here a family. No, let's go to new, to create new families. I go to English, then I select metric profile and open it. Then under create, you pick a line, and then you just create something. I like this to be 400 millimeters by 500. This is 100, 80, 40, then 40. This is 100, 40, 40, 60. Then I drag this to this point. I can delete this and delete this. Alright, so the next thing is to save. Come to File, you save as a family. You can save it as SSDF. Alright, and then you can decide to put it inside a Revit file as well. Let's load it into this Revit file. It's loaded into that point. So the next thing is to load it into the project. So you click on load into project. Okay, not this. The name of our project is example 102. I say okay. Now it's loaded into this project. Then what we would do is to go to the appropriate level where we can apply it. And the appropriate level is level 2. So you click on level 2. This is where we can apply it. And then we will attach it to a wall. This is our parapet wall. Of course, you remember we have to do an editing of a wall by duplicating the wall, and then it's called parapet wall. So we can call it parapet wall 2 to be able to identify it. And then I say okay. The thickness is 150. It has to be in sync with the existing wall because it's going to be running on top of the wall. Yeah, the next thing we have to do is to turn the base offset to 0, and then we can turn the unconnected here to 400. Alright, the height of the parapet was 400 by 500, so we consider the height by giving the unconnected here as 400 and the base offset as 0 because we are not offsetting it from the wall. So after setting up this, then we'll go to edit type. Alright, this is the wall already, and then at this point we open our edit and open this sweep to apply the wall. So you say add and go to default. We have the SSDF here, so you click it, open, and then from here if you drop it down you see from the top and from the base. So we are not applying it from the base, we are applying it from the top, and here you can apply it. So you can see it there, but we need to step it down by coming here where you have the distance. The height of that is 400, so we are going to type 400, but because it's going to step down we are going to put a minus sign, so minus 400, and then we apply it and you can see it's properly positioned. But we can also change the material of that element by coming to material here, and you are going to see this and you click it. So the materials are here, and then let me just type white. So I have clad white here. I click on it and say okay. I've turned it to white, so I say okay, and I okay this as well, and okay this, and then unconnected 400. So let's begin to apply it. Our wall location is center line, remember, so that we can run the wall at the center line of this instead of finish face exterior or any other option. So center line is the appropriate place. Let me show you the essence of that. Now you can see it's snapping at the center line of it. So once you run that wall there, you're going to see the parapet will be appearing, okay, to this point, to that point, to that point, to that point. You hit escape. Now if we go to our 3D, you're going to see that there. Let's hit escape. So you see what we have. Alright, so the next thing is to put a roof over it. Like I told you before, here on the 3D we can decide to select all the datum and hide elements. Alright, so once you hide it, they all disappear to allow you to see exactly what you're doing. But then there is something else I want to show you. Let's go back to level 1. Now when you're working on a project, alright, as long as the modeling process is concerned, you're going to have a lot of things, Alright, you also need a 2D representation of your drawing. Alright, so here now we have this. Next thing I want you to take note of is that you will have to add your doors and the rest of them and put dimensions for documentation purposes. And then we add dimensions, and then we can duplicate it and use the other copy, duplicated copy, for our modeling purposes. So to apply for doors, I can just click on doors here, and you can see I already have a door there. Or I can load in family in order to select a different type of door. Okay, let's select this. And then let's just select one of the doors. Here we have width and we have height. I'll prefer the one with width of 900. So we have a door there of width of 900 millimeters. So if I edit it, I can duplicate it and call it D1 and say OK. You see all the properties of the door are there. The width is 900 millimeters. Then the height should be 2100 millimeters according to my standard, and I say OK. And then I will come here and apply the door at this entrance. And then I also have to duplicate it for this by going to Edit, D2. The essence of the duplicating is so you can differentiate the dimension of the parameters. Now here I would like this to be 750 millimeters. And I apply 750 millimeter size door here. Alright, so this you can decide to turn the swinging towards this way. Let it swing towards the adjacent wall, and this will swing that way. This will swing this way. I can also apply another here, which is an exit door. Then the next thing we have to apply here is the windows. So let's pick windows, and you pick windows and you edit it. You say 1500 millimeters high, then width 750. And if you don't like the nature of the window, you can load your family and select the type of window you choose. Alright, so let's go back and look for window. This is windows, so you can just select any type of window. This is M window or whatever, but let's just make do with what we have there. And here I place one here. On this side I place two, taking note of the gap between them. This is going to be kitchen, I place one here. It's going to be toilet, I place one here. Alright, so for toilet, if the size of the window, the parameters of the window does not satisfy, you can duplicate it once again and specify that of the toilet. Alright, as long as you know what you're doing. And for that of the kitchen, I think it's preferable to have it here, and then you can delete this so that your kitchen cabinet can run along this path. So we have all of this. If we go back to our 3D to check, you see we have all of this right now. So your shift and middle mouse button will help you. So at this point, the next thing we should do here is to go back to our level 1. Now let us put a text on what we are doing by labeling our compartments. So I have to pick my text direct from my quick access toolbar, and then I do something like that. So here I call this living room. What happens is that each time you highlight it, you can rotate it from here in case you want to reposition it, and then you can also move it from here to place it wherever you want. So I have to just copy this and place it here and call it entrance. Then you can reposition it. Then I also have to copy This becomes my lobby. This is kitchen. Okay, so I have all of this. All right, so I can shorten this to S, can take off the E there to shorten it. All right, so we have the living room, entrance, shelf, that. Okay, now the next thing is to dimension this. All right, so here under annotate, that's where you have the dimensions, but I like to use the quick access toolbar to just pick my linear dimension there. So the dimension, you have to consider the location line where you are making your dimensions. We have the wall face, we have the center lines. If you select the center lines, it's going to be dimensioning from grid to grid. So wall face will take you from in to in of what you're doing. So from in to in, you have it that way. Then you select from here to here to here. All right, and then you can go for the vertical and make something like that. This is just to show you, but you have to be as careful not to make your drawing to look ugly and clustered. All right, you can take from this external. All right, you can go here to here, here to here, here to here. All right, now this can be saved for your documentation purposes. As you can see now, if I want to add something else to my modeling, I may not be able to use this file again. So what you have to do is to go to the level 1 and then you right click and you see duplicate view. So you duplicate with detailing, or you duplicate as a dependent. So I don't need all of this. I don't need to duplicate it with detailing, so I'll just have to say duplicate. Now we have it here. All right, so I can right click on this new copy and I rename it. This is rename, so I can call it level 1 presentation. So I right click on it once again. I'll say create view template from view. So here I'm going to name it presentation graphics, and I say okay. So here I'm just going to leave it as presentation graphics. I say okay. So now we have this level 1 and where we have the dimensions. All right, so all of this can be kept for my documentation purposes. And then for my graphics, I can be using this. At this point, you can choose to put in your televisions, all of those things for 3D graphic presentation work. All right, so to put in all of those things, let's say I want to put a chair, a couch here, all right, and kitchen cabinet. But though I may not have all the time to do all of that, but you just have to go to your components and placing components, load in family. This is my library, so I have to look out for, let me leave it on the list. I'm seeing furniture here. All right, all of this. This is bed. Let me turn it to a thumbnail. Alright, okay, let me just fix this there. I'll prefer to turn it the other way around. Say escape. Now we can go to 3D and see what we have done. Now let's go back to that level and apply our roof on it. To apply roof, you click on this arrow, you pick roof by footprint, and then you can edit it, duplicate roof. Let me add one to it. Say okay. The thickness of the roof has to be adjusted. Let me say 10 millimeters. Okay. The base level is level 2, alright. And then all we have to do at this point is to do two things. Either okay, let me, for basic tutorial purposes, let me pick a line, and then you can come here and draw. When you watch, you see that the roof is snapping for me at the point where I should be drawing it, because it's usually not practical to start at the very edge of the parapet, so we have a gap there. But make sure whenever you're making your sketch, Revit will always encourage a closed loop. Now you can see that the roof is pitched at 30 degrees. We can turn it to 45 degrees and apply it. Then you hit finish edit mode here, click. They say, would you like to attach the highlighted wall to the roof? Alright, if you say attach, it's going to attach the wall to the roof. And then if we go to 3D, you can see what we have done there. Alright, so at this point you can make some correction by highlighting that. Just make sure it's straight, and then you can move this. From this point to this point. So if you check, we have that roof there. Alright, then you can change the material of the roof. So you can look out for roof materials. So we have default mass roof tile. Okay. You can turn it into thumbnails just to see the kind of roof you want to apply there. Let's just make do with this and say okay. Alright, we have turned that into that kind of material. So we have this now. Okay, let's go to our level 1 presentation and then place an interlocking background on this. So how do we do that? Is to go to floor, architecture. We duplicate the floor once again, duplicate, and call it interlock. And let's just edit it to 10 millimeters. Alright, and then we can pick our rectangle and do something like this. And you finish it. So go back to 3D and see. So we have that there, but we can turn this material into, this is at the wrong level, so we are going to take it back to the foundation level by returning the level orientation here to foundation. Alright, so we have it here, but we can change the material as well to normal interlocking material, so you can edit. interlock. Then we can bring this up here. All right, you see this material, I think is nice, and apply it by saying okay. The roof also changed with it. That's why it is always good to duplicate. Now in this case, I would like to add some more things like the stairs, and then add rails to the entrance. To place stairs down there, I have to be on foundation level, and then I pick my stair here and I edit it. You can duplicate and just name it anything, stairs, and I say okay. Maximum height is 150 millimeters, 150 times 3. all right, will give us this. I can make it to be 300, and the total height is 600. I say okay, and then you also take note of your desired number 4, and that's not bad. So I click here and I drop it there, and I click to extend it to this very point, and maybe to this very point. And when I finish it, I'll come here to click on it, and you see this arrow pointing down. You click on it, it goes upward. All right, so if we go to 3D to see what we have done, you see we have this there. But then you can decide to leave it this way, or you can decide to change the type of stairs here. You select, you come to this point and change it to monolithic stairs. You can see it has changed, and I think this is preferable. And then even the rails can also be changed into something else. Have glass, and then I can run a rail here. Let's go to the appropriate level to put that, which is at our level 1. So if I go to level 1 presentation, I can pick railing here, and I sketch railing from this point. I draw it to this point. All right, if you check the properties there, the base offset is 0, then the offset from part is 0 as well. Then if you go to edit, you can see the height of it is 1100. all right, but you can make it to be 1000 millimeters high, and you say okay. Then you hit finish. Once you hit finish, you notice that this is not properly aligned. I can move it to align it to the wall there, and then if we go to 3D, you will notice what has happened. Then you can decide to turn it to glass in order to be in sync with what we have already. All right, so we have this, and then we can go back to our back view there and apply the same thing. All right, we have that on top of that. Now let us take a snapshot of what we have been doing since. Do it on level 1 presentation here, and I will pick a camera here also. Let's turn it to realistic as well. Realistic helps you to see exactly what you have done. So having done that, what I have to do is to go back to my foundation and increase this to cover a reasonable area, so that I won't be having this gap here. So I go back there, and then I edit boundary. I can move this to as far as I want. So for the camera view, I have to come to my 3D here and drop it down. So I have taken 3D view 1, 3D view 2 being the camera view. So you can see what we've done there. Alright, so you can take your shots from any direction at all. Okay, so at this point now, let's say we like this and we would like to render this view here. What you will do is just to bring them close, bring it close, if that's what you like. All right. Okay, let's drop some cars somewhere and drop some flowers as well somewhere. But meanwhile, we can go to our graphic display here and also display the background by choosing gradients, apply, so that the background can be more clear to us. So I like to go back to this view here. I like to go back to our level 1 presentation and drop some things like flowers and the rest of them. So let's go to components, place a component, load the component. I will look for something like planting. This is planting. All right, I put it on thumbnail. So I have some planting like this. I can choose. Okay, let's choose this and just place this anywhere. Every element belong to a family and every family belong to a category. So now we have this plant here. I can turn it into a different kind of plant by just selecting it and going to my edit profile. So we have it here as scarlet oak. So if I click on this scarlet oak, I can choose any of these. All right, okay, let me choose this. Okay, then if I go to 3D now, you're going to see it there like that. So what I just have to do now is just to go to the view I want to render, being the camera view, which is this, and then see how it is positioned. I can decide to place it round about it by going back to my RI presentation. I can just decide to take it round by copying, just going like that. So when you pick a copy, you can check this multiple so that it doesn't have to go off. All right, so you have to pay very close attention to the view you want to show to the world. So this is the view I want to show to the world, so I place it there. But then placement of these things have to be on foundation level. What I have to do in this point is to select all instances visible, so that by the time you place it on the foundation, every single one of them you apply will be affected. So I have that. I like to place a car too, but I have to place the car on the foundation level. Alright, now to drop cars on your project, I just have to go back to my components, then I load into families. Alright, okay, here I have a whole lot of them under a particular folder, so I can choose to pick this and say open. Now when you open that, you will notice what I told you. The car is a 2009 version car and Revit has to do a quick update on it. So I'll just place this. I can get some more. Let me pick this. You see 2009 and it has been updated. Now this one that I've already brought out is covering the other one from coming in, but because it's already loaded into the project, what I have to do now is to go search for it right here. All right, it has to be here somewhere because it's loaded already, so I can quickly go there and pick it. Let me place it here. Then I can move some of these ones. Then I'll just use my left shift key. Let me go back to the 3D view. Alright, I have those cars there, so then I can just add a dwarf wall around the building as well. So I have to go wall, then I edit, duplicate it. I can call it fence. The thickness remains the same. I say okay, and then the unconnected, I can make the unconnected to be, let me make it 1 meter. Let it represent a fence, a kind of. Now you would notice that the wall has a profile on it. If we check it on my 3D right now, you're going to see something. You would notice it has that parapet profile. So just because the last wall we used, we applied the parapet profile, and this will also give you an insight of how the parapet is fixed to that particular wall where we applied it. So what to do now to remove this from this particular wall is just to select it and then say edit. You go here, edit, come to the preview here and turn this to section. Alright, so you can see the parapet there. Then you go sweep, then you select the wall, delete it, apply. You notice it has gone off. So once you say okay, 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 it has disappeared. Alright, so this now represent our fence, and then the flowers, the trees are behind the fence. So if we go to the perspective view, but that's okay. Then the next thing I'll likely show here is, let's change the material of our building. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to change materials and then how to apply painting to it. Just a quick one. Let us go back to our 3D, normal 3D. So what to do is just to select the wall and then edit type, edit here, then you come to this point, material, you drop this down. Then these are all the materials available, so it's all up to you to choose which material you like. So let's go for this. You can see the appearance of the material is looking like white material, so you can say okay, okay, okay. So as you can see, we have changed the material. And then for the floor, I don't know, you can choose to apply brick on the floor. You select it, you edit it as well. Then for that, let's look out for bricks. You just type in bricks, brick. So here we have brick common. You check the appearance of it. Alright, we have it there, so you can say okay. And the next thing you have to do is maybe to just adjust the corrugation a bit, which is very important. So you just click on it and this comes up. Then we can adjust this to maybe the sample size to maybe 2000. So once you adjust the width, the height will take care of itself. Alright, so I turn it to 2000. You say done. Okay. Hit escape. So we have something like that. Alright. It's also important, since all the walls are made up of the same material, they all turned to white when I change the material. So for the entrance here, I would like to paint it. So what you do with the painting right here is just to go to your modify, and then you come down here, you see paint, you click paint. So you just look out for any other kind of material you like. Let's pick this red. and just bring it here and click. All right, now when you click on a material for painting, remember you have not changed the material. It still bears the same properties with other walls, and paint can also be removed. So I click on that. All right, now I've changed the entrance. Let's go to the back and also do the same. When you're done, you hit escape. Then the roofing, let's also change material for this roof and get the appropriate material for it. I select it, you edit, roofing felt is the name. All right, so let's check the appearance and click on that. All right, I found this, so I click on it and I open it. All right, then you come here on the thumbnail and click on the thumbnail to adjust the sample size. This is the sample size, so we can make it 2500. Then I say okay. But the color is red. I may likely have to adjust the sample size more and probably turn the color to black. Go to the appearance, stain color, you turn it to, let's turn it to off-white. Say okay. Then the sample size 2000. Say okay. So you can see what we have there. All right, so I think this is not bad. So what I'm about to do next right here is to adjust the positioning of the car, so I can park one of the cars somewhere around here. Then I have to go back to my foundation and select this and pick move. Then you pick rotate. You can rotate it to face that way, and I move it. And then I move it further by using my shift key. Then if I go back there, you can see it clear now. Alright, so the next thing I will likely show you before we come back to do this rendering, as I just remembered right now, is if we go back to our building plan, level 1, we come to this plan right now, our interlocking is also appearing on our floor here. So what I want to show you here is how to cut a section. Alright, so this is the section here on your quick access toolbar, and if you don't want to pick it here, like I told you before, they are all found under the annotate. Oh sorry, section is found under view. Alright, so if you come to any point where you want to cut the section, place it there just like that, and then you click. Alright, now you can see the scope box. Alright, you can decide to drag this depending on how you want it to appear, but just before I show you that, I like you to see the section. Now if you want to see how the section will appear, you escape first to get out of the command, and then to view the section, all you have to do is to double click on this arrow. It brings you to the section. Alright, then there you can now also turn this into realistic mode just to see the section you have cut down there. Alright, so this is it for sectioning. Then the next thing I have to show you here is how to fix your ceiling. Alright, so to fix ceiling, let's go back to our level 1 under ceiling plans. Alright, you can choose this and then you pick that your ceiling. Alright, and then you say sketch ceiling. Instead of use automatic, you can sketch it. You use this, and then you can go So the height there is 2600 from the level. All right, so what you have to do is to hit finish, and then if you go to 3D to check, you will see you now have a ceiling there, but now it's not as high as I want it, because here my beam is higher above it. So I can select it and adjust it to 2800. You say apply. All right, or you turn it to 2900 and you apply it. Now you have a ceiling on that, but you may not be able to see it. The essence of it is so that you'll be able to fix your lighting components on it, because ceiling hosts lights. All right, for planting you can also choose to fix maybe some of these short flowers. The best place to fix it is on the ground there. Can choose to drop this here and drop one right there. Then if you go to your 3D view, alright, this is our 3D view too, alright, which we intend to render. And then what you have to be doing is just to take your time and be fixing some of those little components, all right, such as maybe lighting, the wall hosted lighting components and the ceiling hosted lighting components, because you have enough time to do your model and make it look very beautiful. All right, then at this point I'm going to do a quick kind of rendering just to see the outcome of what we have done. Then I drag this further and I drag this furthermore. So at this point we're going to set up our rendering. All right, so how do you do that is to come to this point. You can see show rendering dialog. Otherwise the next place you can find this is under your view tab. All right, you can see your render here, and then once you click it, this dialog box comes up. Or you can go direct from this point and click the dialog box open. Now to set it up, here we have draft. Draft is just to give us a quick one. We have medium, we have high, we have best. So let's just leave it as medium, and then you can leave the resolution of screen. Let's come to printer and leave it at 150 dpi. You can also go more, all right, but so that it doesn't waste our time, let's leave it as 150 dpi. And then for this lighting scheme, or we can leave it as sun only. For this sun setting, let's do a few settings. Let's allow the sun to come from the top right. All right, so here you can see the azimuth as 135 degrees, and we see the altitude as 35 degrees. All right, and we have it as lighting. You can choose to explore some of these other ones. All right, and then you say okay. And then for the background, you can render directly, or you can pick a background and fix. Now I'm just going to pick a background and fix there so that you see the difference. I have images inside my drive, so all I have to do is to browse the image. Here I'm just going to go straight to my document. I have this folder here. Without waste of time, I can pick this just for the sake of the tutorial. Then I say okay, and then here they are asking me to adjust exposure, so I can choose to adjust the brightness, all right, and get it up to 1, and I say apply, say okay. Then here you hit render. Now this is just a basic tutorial on how you can model a simple building. All right, there are more advanced method of doing all of this, but this is just to show you. You can see what we have done. All right, and then what you have to do is to save it to your project. You can name it, you can call it DDWA. Alright, and I say okay, it will be saved on your project. Then you can export it to wherever you wish to export it, maybe to your desktop, and you call it DDWA as well, maybe one, and then you save. Now you have it on your desktop. You can say show model just to cancel this out, or you just cancel it from here. Now to view the 3D model here on the project, you can come here and you see your renderings. So once you click this, the DDWA appears there. You click it, it opens up, so you can look at it and see how it turns out. Alright, now this concludes our course for beginners on Revit, and I hope it offers you some values on your quests for Revit studies. Alright, there are more to explore in Revit, so I will advise you to also follow my YouTube channel and then also follow me on Facebook, because there I have a whole lot of technicalities on Revit where I display a whole lot of videos, and then you can also benefit from that. Alright, I wish you success. Thanks for watching this video. See you again on several other courses. Thanks.